Rome, 1501. The heart of Christendom, yet a den of vipers. The Renaissance bloomed, painting beauty atop layers of deceit and ambition. Here, under the watchful gaze of St. Peter's, the Borgia family reigned supreme, their power absolute, their methods less so. At the epicenter of this web sat Rodrigo Borgia, Pope Alexander VI. A master manipulator, he navigated the treacherous currents of Italian politics with unparalleled skill. His papacy was not defined by piety, but by pragmatism, securing his family's future above all else. Cesare, the Pope's favored son, was the iron fist in the velvet glove. A cardinal turned condottiero, his ambition burned brighter than any altar candle. His gaze was a promise of either salvation or swift demise. And then there was Lucrezia, the Pope's daughter, a pawn in the grand game, yet far more astute than her enemies believed. Her beauty masked a sharp intellect and a will as strong as any Borgia man. The city itself was a cauldron of simmering rivalries. The Orsini, the Colonna, the Sforza, all vying for power, their hatred for the Borgias a common thread in their tangled schemes. Cesare, ever the pragmatist, met with those who shared a common enemy. Deals were struck in the shadows, alliances forged in blood and whispers, all for the sake of power. Alexander, meanwhile, consolidated his control, leveraging his spiritual authority to amass wealth and land. The papal states became his personal fiefdom, its coffers overflowing with the spoils of simony and indulgences. Lucrezia, ever observant, learned the game from the masters. She understood the value of alliances, the power of information, and the subtle art of manipulation. Giovanni, the infans Romanus, remained oblivious to the machinations around him. His parentage was a matter of intense speculation within the Vatican inner circle, a secret that held the potential to unravel the Borgias' carefully constructed facade. Cesare, ever vigilant, honed his skills, both on the battlefield and in the art of deception. He knew that power was a blade that needed constant sharpening. Even Alexander, in his moments of supposed piety, sought divine justification for his earthly ambitions. His prayers were less supplications and more demands. And so the stage was set. A city of beauty and treachery, ruled by a family as ambitious as they were ruthless. A storm was brewing, and in the heart of the Vatican the Borgias prepared to weather it, no matter the cost. Whispers snaked through the Roman court like venom, each syllable laced with suspicion. A challenge to Cesare's authority, murmured in darkened corners, carried on the breath of discontent. The very air felt heavy with unspoken threats. The Pope understood the language of power. Any affront to Cesare was an affront to the Borgia name, to his papacy itself. He knew that such threats were not always born of malice, but often of opportunity, perceived weakness. Poison in Renaissance Italy was an art form. Arsenic, aconite, belladonna, each a subtle brushstroke in a deadly masterpiece. Knowledge of their properties was a closely guarded secret, passed down through generations of apothecaries and clandestine practitioners. Swordsmanship was a noble pursuit, a dance of steel and skill. But in the shadows, the art was perverted. A thin film of poison, applied to the rapier's tip, could turn a minor wound into a death sentence. The line between honor and assassination blurred. Lucrezia, though often underestimated, possessed a keen understanding of the political landscape. She knew that information was a weapon, and she cultivated a network of informants throughout the city. Cesare's methods were direct. Intimidation, interrogation, and, if necessary, elimination. He sought the source of the challenge, determined to crush it before it could blossom into open rebellion. Alexander, ever the politician, worked to solidify his alliances. He reminded the cardinals of the stability the Borgias had brought to Rome, subtly hinting at the chaos that would ensue if their power were challenged. Giovanni, a pawn in a game he did not understand, remained blissfully ignorant of the dangers lurking in the shadows. His future, like the duel itself, was shrouded in uncertainty. The chosen poison was fast-acting, nearly undetectable. Aconite, perhaps, or a rare extract from the East. The dose was crucial, enough to incapacitate, but not enough to raise suspicion. Lucrezia, employing her network of spies, identified potential instigators, rival families eager to exploit any sign of weakness within the Borgia ranks. The Orsini, the Sforza, their names echoed in the corridors of power. The challenge had been made through back channels, anonymous letters and whispered words. Untangling the web of deceit proved to be a daunting task, even for the Borgias. Alexander, ever the pragmatist, knew that faith and power were often intertwined. He prayed for guidance, but his true allegiance lay with the Borgia dynasty. The duel was but a prelude to a larger game, a game where the stakes were nothing less than the fate of Rome. The gauntlet lay before Caesar, not of iron but parchment, its words a sharp-edged blade aimed at his pride. A formal challenge, penned with meticulous care, demanding satisfaction in the form of a duel. The air in the courtyard crackled with unspoken tension, the challenge an open declaration of enmity and a blatant test of Caesar's authority. The word of the challenge reached Alexander swiftly. Dueling, though condemned by the church, was a pervasive custom among the nobility. Popes had issued edicts against it for centuries, but the practice persisted, especially amongst powerful families who considered it a matter of honor. The Pope understood the political ramifications. Allowing the duel meant acknowledging the challenger's perceived legitimacy, while forbidding it could be seen as weakness. "Father, to refuse is to concede," Caesar argued, his voice resonating with conviction. "It would be interpreted as fear, an admission that we are vulnerable. This challenge, though inconvenient, is an opportunity to display our strength, to silence those who dare question our authority." Lucrezia, ever the astute observer, remained silent. She understood the stakes involved. A duel, regardless of the victor, would stir the already turbulent waters of Roman politics. Yet she also recognized the potential to manipulate the situation, to turn it to their advantage, reinforcing the Borgia grip on power. Preparations for the duel began immediately. Caesar, a skilled swordsman, meticulously chose his weapon. The rapier, a slender, agile blade, was the weapon of choice for gentlemen. He selected one with a keen edge and a balance that felt natural in his hand. He would need every advantage. Caesar's acceptance was delivered with formal ceremony. Two of his trusted men, clad in the Borgia colors, presented the message to the challenger's household. The die was cast. The duel would proceed. The selection of seconds was crucial. These men, acting as representatives of each duelist, would ensure fairness and adherence to the established rules. They negotiated the time, place, and conditions of the duel, acting as mediators and witnesses to the unfolding drama. The Church's stance on dueling created a profound moral dilemma. While officially condemned, the practice was often tolerated, particularly when it involved powerful families. Many within the Church grappled with the contradiction, torn between religious doctrine and the realities of Renaissance society. Caesar honed his skills relentlessly. Hours were spent perfecting his footwork, refining his parries, and sharpening his strikes. He left nothing to chance, knowing that even the smallest advantage could mean the difference between life and death. While Cessair prepared for battle, Lucrezia schemed. She saw the duel as an opportunity to solidify their position, regardless of the outcome. She explored every possible angle, plotting and maneuvering to ensure the Borgia family emerged victorious, even if not on the dueling ground. Young Giovanni, oblivious to the intricate political machinations, watched Cessair's training with wide, innocent eyes. He admired his older brother's strength and skill, unaware of the dangerous game he was about to play. The innocence of childhood juxtaposed starkly against the ruthless realities of Renaissance power. As the sun set over Rome, casting long shadows across the city, Alexander surveyed his domain. He knew that the duel was more than a personal matter. It was a test of his family's power, a challenge to his authority. The fate of the Borgias, and perhaps even the Papal States, hung in the balance. Cessair dedicated himself to rigorous training, the air thick with the scent of sweat and steel. Each parry, each thrust, was executed with a precision honed by years of practice, and fueled by the knowledge that his life, and perhaps more, depended on it. Beyond swordsmanship, Cessair delved into the science of antidotes. He consulted with physicians and apothecaries, seeking knowledge of the poisons rumored to be used and the remedies that might counteract their effects. The quest for knowledge was as crucial as the physical preparation. Lucrezia, ever attuned to the currents of power, watched Cessair's preparations with growing unease. The stakes were impossibly high, and she feared the consequences of failure, both for him and for their family. "Cessair, brother, must you proceed?" Lucrezia implored, her voice laced with concern. "The risks are too great. Surely there are other ways to resolve this madness." She believed she had to dissuade him from the duel, however, her concern was also for the family's image. Cessair, though fond of his sister, remained resolute. "This is not merely a matter of honor, Lucrezia," he explained, his voice firm. "It is a test of strength, a demonstration of power. To back down now would be to invite further challenges, to show weakness to our enemies." Alexander VI, informed of the duel and Cessair's preparations, considered the implications with a calculating mind. Who was behind this challenge? Was it a rival family seeking to destabilize the Borgias' hold on power, or was it someone closer to home, someone with a personal vendetta? Rumors whispered of a conspiracy, of alliances forged in secret and betrayals plotted in the shadows. Some pointed to the Orsini family, still smarting from their losses at the hands of the Borgias. Others suspected the Sforza, their ambition undimmed by years of exile. The poison itself became a subject of intense scrutiny. It was suspected to be a concoction of aconite, known for its rapid and deadly effects. Aconite poisoning was swift, causing paralysis and ultimately death by asphyxiation. The apothecaries of Rome, often privy to the darkest secrets, possessed the knowledge to create such deadly mixtures. Their skills were sought after by those who wished to eliminate their enemies discreetly. Cessair, knowing the risks, began to ingest small doses of potential antidotes, hoping to build a resistance to the poison. It was a dangerous game, but one he was willing to play to ensure his survival. Lucrezia, unable to dissuade Cessair, could only watch and pray. She knew that the duel was more than just a personal challenge. It was a battle for the very survival of the Borgia dynasty. Unbeknownst to the adults consumed by their schemes, young Giovanni watched from a distance. He did not understand the intricacies of power or the deadly nature of the impending duel, but he sensed the tension in the air, the unspoken fear that hung heavy over the Borgia household. The Colosseum, ancient witness to gladiatorial combat, now stood as the arena for a different kind of spectacle. The air crackled with anticipation. A duel to the death, whispered to involve poison, was about to unfold. From his elevated seat, Alexander VI surveyed the scene. His gaze, sharp as any blade, missed nothing. He understood the stakes of this duel extended far beyond mere honor. It was a dance of power, a game of survival. Lucrezia, ever observant, sat beside her father. The air thrummed with unspoken tensions. She knew the delicate balance of power rested precariously on the outcome of this duel. Cessair drew his rapier. The polished steel reflected the morning sun, a cold, hard glint of impending death. He moved with the grace of a predator, every muscle coiled and ready. His opponent, masked and cloaked, remained an enigma. Their identity concealed, their motives shrouded in secrecy. Only the glint of steel betrayed their deadly intent. The duel erupted. Steel met steel, a dance of death played out under the watchful eyes of Rome. Cessair attacked with ferocity, his rapier a whirlwind of deadly precision. His opponent met his assault with surprising agility. Each parry, each thrust, was executed with skill, their movements fluid and unpredictable. The poison, a dark and viscous substance coating the blades, was the unseen player in this deadly game. A single scratch, a mere nick, could prove fatal. A misstep, a moment of carelessness. Cessair felt a sharp sting on his arm. A thin line of blood bloomed on his sleeve. The poison had found its mark. Sensing weakness, the cloaked figure pressed their advantage. Their attacks grew fiercer, more relentless. The scent of blood fueled their determination. Cessair staggered, his movements sluggish. The poison coursed through his veins, an insidious fire consuming him from within. His vision blurred, his strength waned. He fell. The rapier clattered on the stone. Cessair Borgia, son of the Pope, lay defeated in the arena of souls. But the true battle, the battle for power, was far from over. The roar of the crowd faded into a ringing silence in Cessair's ears. He had won, yet a cold dread gripped him. A burning sensation bloomed in his side, far beyond what a mere scratch should inflict. Alexander observed his son's retreat. Victory tasted sour when doubt lingered. The cut seemed too small to cause such distress. He knew the whispers surrounding poisoned blades, and a chilling premonition settled in his heart. Lucrezia masked her worry behind a facade of composure. Cessair's well-being was paramount to the family's stability. A poisoned blade, the thought sent a shiver down her spine. Had she missed something? Had a rival truly penetrated their defenses? Cessair's condition worsened rapidly. Nausea, dizziness, and a growing paralysis plagued him. The physician, summoned in haste, could only offer vague diagnoses and ineffective remedies. Time was running out. In a secluded corner of Rome, a trusted apothecary worked tirelessly. He analyzed samples of Cessair's blood, searching for traces of known poisons, arsenic, aconite, hemlock. The presence of something unfamiliar puzzled him. A rare, fast-acting toxin, perhaps. Alexander, refusing to rely solely on physicians, launched his own investigation. He delved into the affairs of those closest to Cessair, searching for any hint of betrayal, any motive for such a treacherous act. The Orsini, the Sforza, or someone closer to home. Lucrezia, acting independently, questioned those who had access to Cessair's weapons. She trusted few, suspecting even those within her inner circle. Her inquiries were discreet, veiled in concern, but her resolve was unwavering. Unburdened by the court's machinations, Giovanni remained oblivious. He played, unaware of the shadows closing in around his family, his innocence a stark contrast to the surrounding treachery. The Borgia armory, usually a source of pride, now felt like a crime scene. The master-at-arms discovered a faint residue on Cesar's rapier, almost invisible to the naked eye. It was not a common poison, but something far more insidious. Suspicion became Cesar's constant companion. He eyed every offering, every gesture with distrust. Was the antidote real, or another dose of poison subtly administered? He could trust no one, not even those sworn to his service. Lucrezia confronted a high-ranking member of the papal court. She accused him of complicity, of turning a blind eye to the plot against Cesar. Her words were carefully chosen, a blend of accusation and veiled threat, designed to extract the truth, or at least a useful lie. In the solitude of his chapel, Alexander wrestled with his conscience. Had his ambition blinded him to the rot within his own family? Was the poison that threatened Cesar a symptom of a deeper, more insidious treachery that had taken root at the very heart of the Vatican? The poison coursed through Cesar's veins, a fiery serpent tightening its grip. Each breath was a battle, each heartbeat a hammer blow against his skull. The victory in the Colosseum had become a Pyrrhic one, a poisoned chalice offered by an unseen hand. Alexander VI watched his son suffering, his paternal concern warring with the cold pragmatism of a seasoned politician. Cesar's life was paramount, not just for love, but for the stability of the Borgia dynasty. He summoned the finest physicians in Rome, demanding they find a cure, no matter the cost. The physicians worked feverishly, their knowledge of antidotes limited but their desperation boundless. They mixed theriac, a complex concoction believed to counteract poisons, and administered bezoar stones, hoping these calcified masses from animal stomachs would draw the venom from Cesar's body. Their efforts were a blend of science and superstition, reflecting the nascent state of medical understanding in the Renaissance. Lucrezia, ever the devoted sister, tended to Cesar's needs, offering him comfort and support. Yet beneath her concern, a sharp mind was at work. She knew the stakes were high, and she began to discreetly investigate the circumstances of the duel, suspecting treachery lurked beneath the surface. Alexander, never one to leave matters to chance, initiated his own investigation, summoning spies and informants to uncover the truth behind the poisoned blade. He suspected foul play, a deliberate attempt to destabilize the Borgia's power. His wrath, when unleashed, would be terrible. Whispers circulated through Rome's underbelly, hinting at a conspiracy orchestrated by rivals envious of Cesar's power. The Orsini and Sforza families were prime suspects, their ambition and resentment festering like open wounds. The duel might have been the battleground, but the war was for control of the papal states. Lucrezia, employing her network of informants, uncovered a plot involving a disgruntled apothecary and a compromised weapons master. They had conspired to coat Cesar's rapier with a slow-acting poison, one that would not kill immediately but would weaken him over time, leaving him vulnerable. As the days turned into nights, the physicians, guided by ancient texts and Lucrezia's information, stumbled upon a potential antidote, a rare herb found only in the mountains north of Rome. A daring expedition was launched to retrieve it, their success Cesar's only hope. Alexander, using Cesar's near-death experience as leverage, consolidated his power, silencing dissent within the College of Cardinals and securing alliances with wavering allies. He portrayed the assassination attempt as an attack on the church itself, rallying support for his family and his papacy. Giovanni, sheltered from the machinations of the Roman court, remained blissfully unaware of the danger that had threatened his family. His innocence was a stark contrast to the corruption and deceit that permeated the Papal States, a reminder of a world untouched by the Borgia's ambition. Cesare, slowly recovering from the poison's effects, vowed revenge. He would unmask his enemies and make them pay for their treachery. The duel had been a lesson, a brutal reminder of the price of power. He would not make the same mistake again. Alexander surveyed his domain, his grip on power tightened by the events of the past weeks. The attempted assassination had been a trial, but it had also been an opportunity. He had emerged stronger, more ruthless, and more determined than ever to secure the Borgia dynasty's place in history. But the seeds of distrust had been sown, and the poison of ambition continued to fester within the heart of Rome. The Colosseum duel, though seemingly won, cast a long shadow over the Vatican. Alexander VI, ever the pragmatist, surveyed the chessboard of Italian politics. Cesare's victory, or rather survival, was but a single move. Lucrezia, ever astute, understood the subtleties of power. The duel's outcome had shifted alliances, created vulnerabilities. It was an opportunity to consolidate Borgia influence, but also a dangerous provocation. Cesare, weakened by the poison, was confined to his chambers. The physical victory was hollow, the cost almost unbearable. The poisoner remained a ghost, their motives a chilling enigma. Alexander, leveraging Cesare's near-death experience, skillfully played the injured party. He demanded concessions from Florence and Venice, painting the Borgias as victims of a conspiracy. Each diplomatic maneuver tightened his grip on the Papal States. Lucrezia, a master of appearances, used her social gatherings to gather intelligence. Every smile, every toast, was carefully calculated, every conversation dissected for its hidden meanings. Cesare, though weakened, burned with renewed purpose. The assassination attempt had hardened his resolve. He would not be a pawn in anyone's game. He would be the player. The cost of power was steep. Alexander juggled alliances, debts, and the insatiable demands of the Papal States. The duel and its aftermath had drained the coffers, requiring new sources of revenue, however unsavory. Lucrezia suspected a deeper conspiracy. The poisoner's identity was secondary to the forces that had orchestrated the attack. She tasked her agents with uncovering the truth, no matter the cost. Cesare, impatient with diplomacy, sought his own justice. He extracted confessions through intimidation and fear, cutting through the web of deceit with ruthless efficiency. The duel had unleashed a darker side of his nature. Amidst the power struggles, Giovanni remained untouched, a symbol of innocence in a world consumed by ambition. Yet, his very existence was a political pawn, his future uncertain. Alexander, ever the master of propaganda, used the pulpit to reinforce his authority. He portrayed the Borgias as divinely ordained, their enemies as agents of chaos. Faith was a weapon, and he wielded it with skill. The duel was over, but the war for power raged on. Cesare had survived, but at what cost? The poison had not just entered his veins, but his soul. The Borgias had won this battle, but the ultimate victory remained elusive, forever tainted by deceit and death. The victory in the Colosseum, however Pyrrhic, solidified the Borgia grip on Rome. Alexander VI, ever the strategist, saw the poison point not as a tragedy, but as a tool to further consolidate his dynasty's power. The whispers of Cesar's vulnerability were quickly silenced with strategic alliances and displays of force. Cesar, though recovering, was forever changed. The poison's lingering effects served as a constant reminder of his mortality and the treacherous nature of power. The duel, meant to display his invincibility, had revealed a chink in his armor, exploited by his enemies both known and unknown. Lucrezia, ever the astute observer, used the events to her advantage. She skillfully navigated the treacherous currents of Roman politics, solidifying alliances and gathering intelligence. Her social gatherings became vital forums for the exchange of information and the subtle manipulation of rival factions. Giovanni Borgia, the infans Romanus, remained an enigma. His parentage, shrouded in secrecy, made him a pawn in the power games of the Borgia family. His future, uncertain and dependent on the whims of his father and grandfather, was a stark reminder of the ruthless pragmatism that defined the era. The Papal States, under Alexander VI, continued to be a hotbed of political intrigue and military campaigns. The Borgia family's ambition knew no bounds, and they sought to expand their influence through alliances, betrayals, and, when necessary, outright conquest. The papal army was utilized ruthlessly. Cesar, despite his brush with death, remained a formidable military leader. His campaigns in Romagna continued, aimed at carving out a personal fiefdom for himself and further strengthening the Borgia dynasty. His ruthlessness and military acumen were both feared and admired throughout Italy. Lucrezia's political influence grew, and she became a key player in the Borgia family's intricate web of alliances and betrayals. She skillfully navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics, using her charm and intelligence to further her family's ambitions. Her arranged marriages were instrumental in brokering peace, solidifying control. Giovanni, shielded from the brutal realities of Roman politics, continued to live a life of privilege and isolation. His future remained uncertain, his fate intertwined with the shifting fortunes of the Borgia family. He remained the infans Romanus, a child of Rome, though claimed by no one definitively. The Borgia papacy, though marked by scandal and corruption, also ushered in a period of unprecedented patronage of the arts. The Vatican became a center of Renaissance culture, attracting artists, scholars, and poets from across Europe. The Borgia legacy, therefore, was one of both brutality and brilliance. Despite their power, the Borgia family faced constant threats from rival families and ambitious rivals. The Sforza, Orsini, and other powerful families vied for control of the Italian peninsula, engaging in a constant cycle of warfare and intrigue. The Borgia's reign was built on a foundation of shifting allegiances and precarious alliances. The duel, with its poison point, served as a microcosm of the Borgia era. It was a time of great ambition, ruthless pragmatism, and moral decay. The pursuit of power came at a steep price, and the Borgia family's actions left an indelible mark on the history of Italy and the papacy. A constant game of chess, with people as the pawns. The Renaissance continued its tumultuous course, marked by both great artistic achievements and brutal political realities. The Borgia family, though eventually brought down by their own excesses and the shifting tides of fortune, left a legacy that continues to fascinate and horrify in equal measure. And Giovanni, the infans Romanus, remained a symbol of their ambition, their secrets, and the uncertain future that awaited them all. The echoes of the duel reverberated through the Vatican, each note a chilling reminder of the lengths to which the Borgias would go to maintain their power. Alexander VI, ever the calculating strategist, understood that the victory, was merely a prelude to a larger, more dangerous game. Lucrezia, ever observant, recognized the subtle shift in the political landscape. The poison point had struck deeper than any physical wound, poisoning the very foundations of trust and loyalty within the Borgia court. Cesare, though physically weakened, was far from defeated. The poison had not only tested his body, but had also hardened his resolve. He would use this near-death experience to further consolidate his power, purging any lingering doubts about his authority. The young Giovanni, the infans Romanus, remained untouched by the venomous intrigues of his family, a symbol of innocence amidst the moral decay. Yet, his very existence was a source of contention, a pawn in the game of power played by his elders. Alexander VI, ever the master of appearances, used the duel as an opportunity to solidify his control over the church. He skillfully manipulated the narrative, portraying Cesare's victory as a sign of divine favor, silencing any dissenting voices within the College of Cardinals. In the aftermath of the duel, Cesare unleashed a wave of repression, ruthlessly eliminating any perceived threats to his authority. The streets of Rome ran red with the blood of his enemies, a stark reminder of the price of defiance. Lucrezia, ever the pragmatist, sought to soften the Borgia's image through acts of charity and compassion. She understood that power was not solely based on fear, but also on the ability to garner the support of the people. Alexander VI's ambition knew no bounds. He envisioned a Borgia dynasty that would rule Italy for generations to come, a dream that justified any means, no matter how ruthless or immoral. Cesare, haunted by the poison's lingering effects, began to question the true cost of his ambition. The victory in the Colosseum had come at a steep price, leaving him physically weakened and emotionally scarred. The questions of the innocent Giovanni served as a poignant reminder of the moral compromises made in the pursuit of power. The Borgia's legacy would be forever stained by the blood and deceit that paved their path to dominance. Alexander VI's reign, built on ambition and deceit, came to an abrupt and ignominious end. The circumstances of his death remained shrouded in mystery, fueling speculation and conspiracy theories for generations to come. The poison point, though aimed at Cesare, had ultimately pierced the heart of the Borgia dynasty. Their reign, marked by ambition, intrigue, and moral decay, left an indelible stain on the history of the papacy and the Italian peninsula. Who truly won the duel remains a question debated to this day, a reminder that in the game of power, there are often no true victors, only survivors.